Welcome back. Still tuned in to News and Views, and we're now going to be turning our attention to, shall we say, the shifting geopolitics of natural resources, where global powers are increasingly looking to Africa to secure critical minerals for the future. Global powers, well, speaking of the United States, they're set to become a major shareholder in a graphite mine in Mozambique, a move that raises serious questions around sovereignty, around economic justice, and who ultimately benefits from Africa's vast resource wealth. And to help us unpack this, we're joined by Mozambican scholar and human rights defender, very, very good friend of the show, Professor Adriano Nuvunga, coming to us live from Maputo. Prof, always a pleasure having you on Salam Media. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me this morning.
No, the pleasure is all ours. And I think I'll just let you just set the tone for us. Give us insight on the story. What's happening? Why is the United States looking to Mozambique and Mozambique's natural resources, especially the graphite mines?
Well, as you know, Mozambique has massive deposits of critical minerals. And with that, Mozambique is creating a global appetite, which of course places it in a triangular geopolitical competition. Yes, Mozambique, is positioning itself in the critical minerals, driving energy transition with huge graphite deposits essential for AV batteries. And you see US, China, EU competition intensifying. And China, of course, remains the dominant graphite processing globally and in Mozambique. And the United States is moving quickly upstream, securing ownership, as you have said. So we see here that Mozambique is becoming embedded in this geopolitical competition. And the key question here is Mozambique going to benefit of this strategic value? Will Mozambique have control? Because without that, Mozambique's importance globally, which is clearly rising, but if there is no a national strategy, external actors will continue shaping outcomes and benefits, and the country bearing the costs. And this is the reality of Mozambique today.
Just from an outsider's analysis point of view, you mentioned that graphite is very, very vast in Mozambique. We know it's a very critical mineral for batteries, for green technology. But we've seen how the United States of America has been operating, especially under this new Donald Trump administration. Do you think this is a sincere approach to investment, to clean energy, or there's more to it? The issue of geopolitical influence comes to mind. You look at what's happening in Venezuela, you look at what's currently happening in the Middle East, and the war there. What are Mozambicans thinking and feeling about this? What's your analysis of the situation?
Absolutely. Transforming financing into equity, which is the case here. It's an old strategic way of entering a consortium. That is not novel. But as I've indicated earlier, China is positioning itself firmly in Mozambique. There is now a massive Chinese graphite investment in the Niassa province, also in northern Mozambique. And China, instead of exporting it, there is a certain level of local processing and with some form of benefits for local community. So, and the EU is moving quickly also to secure its relevance in Mozambique's vast critical minerals. So we see here that indeed this is an economic investment, this must be said, but it is within a much bigger picture of geopolitical competition, with China being seen as taking advantage of its proximity in political terms to some of African regimes. So of course it's an economic, but it is within a much larger picture of geopolitical competition. And the key question here, are our political elites in Africa and Mozambique in particular prepared strategically at a policy level, at a governance level, to take benefit? If governance is not set right, Africa and Mozambique risks to continue to be a low value extractive model with value added somewhere else and economic advantage taken somewhere else.
And I want to, almost broaden this conversation, because I think what's happening in Mozambique is only just a microcosmic of what's happening broadly on the African continent. There seems to be a new scramble for Africa led by China, obviously the United States of America following suit, and the EU, as you mentioned. How do Africans respond to it? How do we respond to this new second wave of vested interests, whether it's for resources, whether it's for influence on the African continent, that is slightly different to what colonialism was? This one is more of a soft power kind of approach, especially from China's point of view. How do we treat this new reality, the fact that there's a scramble for Africa in the 21st century that is slightly different from the colonial era, which we know the scars that one has left?
Absolutely. Your question is spot on. At African continental level, there is the Africa Mining Vision, which is an African Union policy that frames how Africa views the monetization, the beneficiation of its vast minerals, including critical minerals. That's a strong. Of course, the coordination, there is an issue of capacity to effectively implement in ways that there is harmonization continental level. That said, at a country level, what I think is the most pressing need is our political leadership to understand that this rush, this scramble for resources, they cannot stop it, and they have to adjust, tapping into the African Union Africa Mining Vision, and quickly adopt policies and strategies that will ensure a national benefit through local processing. Africa needs to process locally, stop raw material exports. This is the short and mid-term. Then there are longer-term strategies, but at the short term and mid is ensuring that Africa, Mozambique, and SADC processing is local, and so that we stop being a raw material supplier and we becoming part of processing and battery value chains. Only this, it can create jobs, it can create revenues much needed to improve our education system, that only through education and IT investment, it can help the continent to harness its local resources and also anchor industrial development, strengthen economic sovereignty. This will only be attained, it will happen if our political leaderships, they stop being a short-term horizon policies, benefit here and there, but look at it from a much bigger picture, leveraging on the African Union Africa Mining Vision and adopting local policies that ensure that there is local processing. Start slow, but you have to move quickly into local processing. Only that can be a game changer for Africa, SADC, and Mozambique.
No, most definitely. Prof, I want us to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to zone in on this acquisition by the US and just maybe the real felt tangible difference that it will have on that graphite mine and just the general graphite mining sector in Mozambique. Are there going to be any changes? Are communities going to be benefiting in any way, as we've been talking about? But we'll touch on those after the short break.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media.
World-class financial services only at Sapphire Global, your financial partner. If you are looking for Islamic Sharia and ethical financial products, look no further. Sapphire Global offers a wide range of financial service offerings from short-term to life and investments. A full-service center with all financial requirements under one brand. Our highly skilled and experienced consultants are ready to help protect your financial future. Contact us on 041 001 0184 or visit our website on www.sapphireglobalfs.com. Sapphire Global is an authorized financial services provider.
Across Sudan, starvation is tightening its grip. With rising food prices and widespread malnutrition, 8.7 million people are now facing emergency or famine-level hunger. As the conflict intensifies and aid routes narrow, families in Sudan are running out of options and time. The Al Imdad Foundation is delivering life-saving humanitarian aid to those most at risk. Stand with Sudan. Donate online at alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness, and every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and freezer card calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
Elite Basmati, available throughout the Middle East, and now for the very first time exclusive to South Africa. Brought to you by Murchison Spice, Pietermaritzburg's most famous specialty store. Elite Basmati, available in aromatic white and golden cellar, is packaged in a world-class facility in India and is filled with wholesome goodness for your well-being. Elite Basmati rice by Murchison Spice. For trade inquiries, contact Mohammed on 033 387 2121. Murchison Spice.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
Welcome back. You're still tuned in to News and Views with myself, Salaila Makwidi. Our time is 8:50 Central African time, and we're still in conversation with Professor Adriano Nuvunga, who's joining us from Mozambique. And we're talking about the United States. There's an acquisition of a graphite mine out in Mozambique, and it looks like the United States of America is going to be a major shareholder into that mine. And we're talking about what does this signals about the global power and Africa's resources and this new scramble for Africa that we are seeing. And I want to unpack a very, very important aspect of this, Prof. And thank you so much for staying with us. When such an acquisition happens, what does it mean for local communities near these mining operations? Are they benefiting at all? Is there transparency around these deals, or are they largely negotiated outside of public view?
Thank you very much. Mozambique is at a critical juncture here. The country is going through one of its severe political, economic, and social crises since independence. The country is almost bankrupt. So to see such an investment, though it is not a new money coming to the country, is shifting financing to shareholding, but that it's an important signal that can help to boost the investor confidence to the country, to the sector, which is much needed. And this, it can help unlock infrastructure, jobs, import revenues, so that the country can have hard currency, which at the moment we don't have. The country has no even rands to make payments overseas. I mean, that's a whole backlog of billions of dollars that are not paid, and is putting the economy at the stalemate because there is no hard currency at the moment linked to the issue of confidence. So this it signals an important confidence. However, this risks to be much of the same if there is no change. Here, I mean change in terms of how Mozambique will ensure that this investment becomes an opportunity for the country at the national level in terms of policy direction, again related to local processing, stopping the same old model of raw material export, which did not translate into any form of benefit for the country and local communities. This, it has to be changed to some form of local processing, that only that it can help in terms of infrastructure, which is much needed. It can help jobs, as I've indicated. So there are a number of social considerations here. As some of these larger scale mining, which is the graphite, they have huge social implications, land pressures, and livelihoods of communities. What we have seen so far is that these investments, important as they are, strategic as they are, they have not yet translated into economic benefits in improving livelihoods of communities. Communities in Cabo Delgado and in Mozambique, they bear the human cost with displacements, they bear environmental costs, they bear including rivers that are polluted, that they lose sources of water. They also human rights issues, brutality here, and young populations who are alienated from participating into these new dynamics that come into their communities. So though at the national level, the political leadership will announce this with a big fanfare, it's a new investment, but local communities, they continue excluded, marginalized, with no form of social and economic beneficiation for local communities. And this is rising, there's a risk of rising grievances, as
true.
most of the expectations, jobs, services, inclusion are not met. So unless there is a considerable shift here, policy level, governance level, if that is not changed, it risks remaining the same, and it risks amplifying the same tensions, the same grievances that see external actors benefiting and local communities bearing the costs.
You touched on a lot of things, and I think one thing that stood out for me was the issue of governance, the issue of leadership within Mozambique. It was on the 9th of October 2025, if I'm not mistaken, when Mozambique had their national elections. That's roughly what, 1 year and 6 months. From that period of those very, very controversial and contentious elections to currently right now, where does Mozambique find itself, despite some of the challenges that you've already noted, the issue of the economy and the country almost being bankrupt, and the lack of foreign currency within the country? Just if you can just encapsulate it for South Africans, very good neighbors of Mozambique, and just for the rest of the continent, of the current state of affairs in Mozambique, 1.5 years since those elections.
The country is in a stalemate. There is no movement, governance related, that you can see. There's a president, there is a government, but it is such a fragile political leadership. There is no any form of pact from where we were. With all that deep political, electoral, human rights crisis, it needed a form of to move forward. The same way that South Africans have now a national a government of national unity, Mozambique needed some form of a pact, bring together different forces. I mean, you had the population of the country in the streets saying no, saying enough is enough, and the establishment used guns to remain in power without a new form of without any form of deal, any form of signaling change. So it is much of the same. No investor confidence, no jobs, government is bankrupt, no money is coming to the country, and more importantly, you don't see where will the money come from. And that has to do with the fact that investors, they see that the country at the governance level, it is not where it needed to be to have a governance that could unlock its potential. So you have a governance in such a crisis that is penalizing Mozambique's economic potential. So it's punishing Mozambicans from benefiting of the large economic opportunity in the country.
Very, very concerning state of affairs. You talk about Mozambique needing a GNU that it's akin to South Africa. I can tell you for free that a lot of South Africans see the GNU as a complete flop and a mistake. So I don't know. We all have our issues. But
The point is, society, fragile democracies like ours, like Mozambique. Mozambique is a fragile democracy. It is a 35-year of democracy without benefit for the people. It is a 35-year of democracy not addressing the root causes of the persistent conflicts in the country. So all this, it can only addressed through a form of a national, you call it what is most convenient, but the country needs to come together, needs to have a framework to come together to move forward. Without that, it is so polarized. You have the government unable to steer the country forward. You have the opposition, fragile, not cohesive as it is, but it is so powerful in terms of mobilizing the Mozambicans, and the Mozambicans themselves who stood to the streets to protest. They have come up with a strong voice, but there is no an institution that can bring all this together in representative form and steer the country forward. So we are in a stalemate. I understand the frustrations with you guys there in Mzansi, but this side, we envy you because you have reached a level of political maturity that you can have that. It might be frustrating, it might not be delivering what people have expected, but it avoided major crisis to escalate in your country. So that's what we needed here. We needed since day one of our democracy, and we need it today so that as a nation, there can be a substantive dialogue that can take the country to the next level where it should be. Listen, Mozambique is said to be the second most impoverished country in the world. Second most impoverished country in the world. I mean, can you afford to have such a country with all this strategic positioning, with key corridors, with massive sea that we have, with massive land? Mozambique is the third most land abundant country in our continent in terms of fertile land. Mozambique is home to world-class gas reserve. Mozambique has world-class rubies. You name it.
The potential in the tourism sector also.
The tourism in the, tourism here is, Mozambique. And remember, 2014, Christine Lagarde, the then IMF director, she was here, and she said Mozambique would be the next Qatar of Africa in the next 10 years. So this is last year. But Mozambique is behind Haiti, is behind the most, so that is not lack of potential. It is governance. It is politics that is rotten.
Prof, going to even that said note, thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure. Hope we chat again soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
There you go. That was Mozambican scholar and human rights defender, Professor Adriano Nuvunga, unpacking the growing global scramble for critical minerals out in Mozambique and in Africa in general, and what it means for Africa, what it means for our sovereignty and our future, and also putting a spotlight on the leadership of Mozambique. They said they could be the next Qatar in the next 10 years. That was last year. They still have 9. Hopefully, it will happen by then. Going to take a quick break. News and views continues after this.